Guilty, guilty, guilty.
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 Justice for the victim. Justice for the victim. Justice for the victim. Justice. We ready. We ready for a change.
What, bro? You want to talk? What? What do you want? What do you want, scumbag? Fuck you. Fucking scumbag.
Video start.
From their family. We're here merely to support the two families.
So you introduce yourself real quick.
I'm sorry, family. Justin Blake, the brother of Big Jake, and Uncle Jacob Blake, that got shot 7 times in the back in front of 3 children, and now is paralyzed. We're here today because I'm pissed off. Our nephew has yet to see. We trust somewhere down the road he's going to see a courtroom, but hasn't, man. His judge and jury was in the street 7 times to the back. This kid has been receiving so much white privilege, it's unreal. From a bond, I don't know many states that give a bond to a murder case, especially 2, to having a witness protection type setup for him, to going in bars, throwing up signs, connecting to people with the mindset that always talk about hurting and doing harm to people. You know, that certainly would have been admissible evidence in Chicago. If one of the gang members takes a picture with somebody, the group, and then murders somebody and then goes back in the bar and throws up their sign again, that's admissible evidence. Not to call these people victims. What the hell were they? They had no weapon. This man had an AR-15 and let it go in him. He's a murderer. And we don't want things to move around that, or people to, try to move the bar or talk about something else. He shouldn't have never had the gun. He was 17. They don't talk about that much. And he was brought across the state lines by his mother. How come she was never arrested or arraigned? If you murdered somebody and you were driving, they come get the driver. If you bank robbed and you were the driver, they come get the driver. So you're seeing white privilege all over this whole thing. It reeks. And we don't want the two families to leave here without getting what they deserve in that justice.
So, from what, I don't know if you caught any of the court case so far, the little meetings they've had, or if you got to fill the judge out much, but do you think that there's going to be a fair trial here? Do you think this is going to lean towards justice, or what are you thinking right now?
Well, I'm thinking right now that the judge has really done some things to let the public know that he's leaning. I mean,
What do you feel like he's done?
Well, him getting to the fight with the young lady, the pictures, not being called victim, all these things sort of wrangle up to somebody that's leaning towards you to get a victory, or for you to walk away. And that's not going to happen on our watch. We're going to make sure the 6 charges that they have on him stick. So this would be a victory for this city, because it stinks right now of racism to the highest degree throughout the government, throughout the judicial system. So this would be a big correction. It would be a good correction. We would take this good energy and continue to pursue the DOJ and have them reopen Little Jake's case. They were not transparent. We don't know who the people were. Do you know? You guys are media. You don't know who they were. Who these DOJ people they say they were. Who are they? What's their background? And what evidence did they have? We saw a young man get shot 7 times in the back with 3 kids didn't see. What did they see? See, it's been hard for African descendants in this country. And all we've ever had was the feds looking out. As poorly if they've done it. But that's what we sort of lean on when things get real bad in these hick-ass towns that are racist as hell. And when the DOJ from the Fed says it's okay Then that makes an open house, and every African descendant from here to Michigan to Missouri, all over this country, it's free game for police officers to shoot you. 2 days later, after they said it was okay for little Jake, and what happened, a man was drug out of his car that was a paraplegic. I don't know if you saw that on the video.
I've seen that.
Did it look terrible?
It looked terrible.
Did it look bad?
He told him clean times. that he
How many
was
times he
clear.
said? It didn't matter.
A lot.
They did what they wanted to do, and I 100% tell you, after Jacob getting shot and them doing nothing, that nothing happened to those officers that drug a paraplegic out of his car and disrobed him. By the time they put him in the car, his pants were down, his shoes were off. It was ridiculous. And it's not the way you handle somebody that's challenged the way he was. So we are saying prayers for the families. Just want to get success, brother.
I'm Emily, E-M-I-L-Y, and I'm here to show support for Kyle Rittenhouse. Self-defense is not a crime.
Okay, so
Isn't it a crime though if you're illegally carrying a gun and then shoot somebody? Wouldn't that be a crime?
Wouldn't the other people that are listed on there have gone to jail for the same thing, attempted murder too? The guy that was shot in the arm, he was carrying a gun.
Legally.
He said
Legally.
he would have killed Kyle. There were other people running around that were illegally here carrying that would have killed Kyle.
Sure, and there were other militia that were illegally here carrying too. I'm just saying, you may or may not be right about the self-defense thing, but if you're carrying a gun illegally and then act and murder somebody, that's a crime. So how is that self-defense then? Doesn't that erase the self-defense? According to Wisconsin law, wouldn't that be true?
But the law of self-defense goes into play where he was out in the community, protecting the community. He wasn't
Illegally
engaging.
carrying a rifle though, so it immediately removes his self-defense point. If he was of age, first off, right, legally carrying, you may have an argument for self-defense, maybe, right? But you're illegally carrying and possessing a weapon.
So just because you're doing something illegal, that makes you inhumane to having any rights, right?
No, but
Right.
according
Well,
to
that's what you're saying. You're
according
saying
to
because he was committing an illegal act, he has no rights.
according to
No
Wisconsin
rights
law,
at all.
according to Wisconsin law, it
According to
removes your
Wisconsin law, that removes any right that you have to being a human being at all, right?
yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So then, what about any time that Jacob Blake was carrying a knife at that time when he reached for it? So that makes it completely humane that he was shot, right?
Not illegal to carry a knife.
But to act aggressively towards law enforcement when he wasn't listening to stop.
Does
So
that
he,
does
that
that
was
give
humane, right?
does that
Everybody-
give law enforcement the right to shoot somebody in the back?
Does it? But you're saying that Kyle and everybody, it gave him complete right to lose all his rights because he was doing something illegal. But you're telling me that Jake or anybody else can do something illegal and is completely fine, right?
No, he should have gotten arrested, but not shot in the back 7
He
times.
should have gotten arrested. But if you wouldn't hold still to get arrested, so if you're committing a felony, your whole rights are out the door. Your First Amendment right, your right to free speech, all that stuff is out the door if you commit a felony, right?
You lose a lot of rights when you're
You
committing
lose a lot of
felonies.
rights. You lose a lot of rights, but you don't have any other rights, right?
Of course you have rights. You don't have a Second Amendment right, which I'm 100% for, 100%, but you don't have a Second Amendment right to carry illegally. You still got to follow laws, rules, regulations, gun safety, all that, right?
Then everybody else should have, too.
100%. Do you agree a militia should have been arrested, apprehended, detained, told to fuck off, the same as black protesters that day? Do you think everybody should have been told to go home?
The people of color protesters that were out here doing, I don't want to say evil things, but they were doing things that were illegal by burning down buildings and stuff.
Not all of them.
Do you think that they should have been told to fuck off and go home? The cops were trying to do that, but then they were getting attacked by telling everybody to fuck off and go home. That's what had the militia come up here. Now, if the National Guard would have got called in that first night, all this shit wouldn't have happened. Really wouldn't. I was here the first night when the cops were getting hit with toasters and fireworks and everything else.
And what about the brutality towards the protesters? I'm not talking about rioters and looters. They're criminals. I'm talking about protesters.
If
What
you
about
were-
the brutality towards
If you
them?
were told to stop what you were doing, like if the cops came out here right now and told us to disperse, I would disperse.
Why?
If they beat me after
Why?
that,
That's a violation of your rights.
because I was told to disperse.
But that's not a lawful order. You have a First Amendment right to stand here and do what you're doing. So why would you listen to that? You'd give up your rights? You're
No,
here
I
to
would
you're
go
here to protect Kyle's rights,
where I'm
but you're
supposed
willing to
go
give up your rights.
and not be aggressive on state property.
This is
go
not
off
state.
of
This is not state property.
And go where I was supposed
This is where you
to.
need to know what. This is not state property here. This is not state property,
Okay, government property.
and you have every right to stand here. You can say whatever you
But
want.
if you are acting in a certain way, aggressively, or you were protesting and yelling and screaming at cops, and you were told to leave and you don't,
You can yell and
yeah.
scream. There's no law. The Supreme Court has upheld that it is okay to berate and badger police officers, to give them your opinion if you think that they're shithead people or whatever. Held up by the Supreme Court. You have every right to stand and say whatever you want. Now, I understand throwing stuff, engaged in any other type of criminal activity, you lose that First Amendment right. It's no longer a constitutionally protected activity, right?
Yeah.
So, why would you leave for standing here if they told you to leave and disperse? You're willing to give up your rights?
Because I was doing what I was advised to do. If I am told by law
Which is
enforcement
give
to
up your First Amendment right to stand here and say what you want to say.
if I'm not
You see
doing
how
it
that doesn't make
peacefully-
sense?
See, like, I was standing here the first night peacefully, and I was never told to disperse. The people that were told to disperse were yelling and screaming and doing all this other kind of stuff.
How about-
I've gone to protest in Chicago and all this other stuff, and we've been peaceful. We've been, following that line, walking on the sidewalks, not even arguing with the opposition. And we've never been told to disperse. But in certain situations, they're told to disperse, and then violence does occur.
But
So-
protesters were told to disperse before any type of violence occurred.
They
You-
were told to disperse prior.
You understand that?
Yes. Yeah, they were told to disperse prior.
Okay.
So they should have dispersed.
How come the fire department didn't put out any of these fires out here? Why did law enforcement and Kenosha Fire Department allow $50
I don't
million
know, I'm
worth
not
of
there.
damage?
Why are you asking me that? That's irrelevant. I'm not blindly back in the system. I've been to prison. I've backed the system and listened to what I'm supposed to do because I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Do you know?
I'm not blindly back in no system.
Do you know the Kenosha Fire Department intentionally refused to put fires out?
I know, I was downtown when they burnt that building.
No, but do you know that they were
I called.
intentionally refused to come and put fires out?
They
even
didn't
though
want to come get Bob when he got knocked out.
They
said
had-
bring him to
they
the
had
hospital.
they had U.S. Marshal security as well as other local, state, and federal security to help put fires out, to guard fire department personnel so that they could put fires out, and they still refused to do that. So why is no blame being put on the city for allowing this shit to happen? The probation building?
It should be put on the higher ups, not like the beat cops, not the people working putting out the fires.
So like Sheriff
It's
Beth,
like the higher ups.
Kenosha County Sheriff.
Somebody told that sheriff not to act.
No,
Who
he
told him not to act?
Sheriff Beth pulled all the strings that day. That's written in open records.
So then he is the one that should be at fault then. I totally agree with that. If
Okay.
he's at fault for if there is anybody that is at fault by means of whether they have a badge or they're me or you know what I mean? I think, yes, there should be somebody held accountable for those types
Okay,
of
so
things.
we agree on that.
Yeah.
All right, so you remember when the whole George Floyd thing happened, right? Were you here in Kenosha when there were protests and some of the stores got fucked up?
Yeah.
Okay, militia came out for that too. Kenosha Guard came, there were 3%ers out here, there were a lot of people, Boogaloo Boys, right? Kenosha told them to fuck off and go home. Why didn't they do that this time, do you know?
But you didn't fail to mention there was a lot of Antifa, BLM, and other left wings. You only mentioned right wing right there. Shows how sided this whole conversation
No, but I'm just
is.
saying, they told militia to go home that day, but they didn't tell them to go
But they
home
didn't tell
this time.
BLM and Antifa to get back on their bus and go somewhere? Go back from that park that they were all at?
Are you?
They herded them all to this little area
So
into
let's-
uptown area to where they destroyed shit.
Yeah,
You
well,
know
why?
what I mean?
Right. So that's a
Exactly.
good point though too.
So,
why did the
but why
police
did-
do that? Do you realize in every protest around the country?
It's the higher ups, so it's not these people. It's not the guys that we see down there. It's not the people that are going this guy.
But do you
know
think
what I
that they
mean?
do that to rile you guys up when they lead them into towns and they lead them into storeways and things like that?
To rile who up?
Your side.
My side. How do you judge that any side? I mean, I support Kyle. But obviously, if I'm sitting here agreeing that it's a fucked up system, you know what I mean? I'm obviously not. So,
Well, yeah, sure, that part we agree on, 100%. So let's distinguish. What is Antifa, or who is Antifa? Well, how do you
Antifa-
know that there was Antifa here?
because they openly said it, they were walking around with their little umbrellas and all that kind of stuff. They yelled at me, saying
Yeah, but
that shit.
I carry an umbrella too.
You do realize that 95% of the disasters that happen in Kenosha were from Antifa?
From out of town. Yes.
I witnessed it with my own eyes.
I know. I had live streams. I was down there. I seen some local come around, and literally him, his two friends, and the wife went into the middle of the square and just started screaming, and everybody just, like, it cleared. It was so crazy, and then they were able to take Bob to the hospital. I mean, you can watch the live videos. I interviewed people that said, no, we don't want this shit. Get the fuck out of here. Do this, do that. And it was, like, all the people in my videos, you could tell they weren't, you know what I mean? So I understand. I understand that it's an outside people coming in and destroying these cities.
I mean, that's what Kyle was, though. Kyle was from outside.
But he was trying to protect it. He didn't want.
But why
all
is that
this
his
burning and
responsibility?
looting and all this kind
He's
of
not
stuff.
from here, though.
I understand
I'm
that.
not from here either, but I didn't come down here trying to play hero and protect property. I came down here to stand for the right of Jacob Blake.
Okay.
But Kyle came out here to a state where it's not even legal to own a rifle at the age of 17 years old. He came out here and killed two people and shot one person. He should have never even been here. And if he was here, he never should have even had a rifle. And that's my issue with this whole situation.
Okay. And I understand that. We both have a valid point and why we're out here. And I respect yours. I respect yours.
I respect yours.
Appreciate
But you're
that we were
supporting.
actually
You're
having this conversation.
so you're
I don't
supporting.
agree with it.
Well, sure.
Right. Right.
But you're supporting criminal behavior. So how come when it comes to people fucking the city up, you don't support that, but you'll support this kid carrying an illegal gun? Why does one crime?
A legal gun is the same thing as destroying property.
I mean, it's a crime, right?
It is. It is.
Right. So, but the point is that you're supporting one crime, but not supporting another crime. What's up, brother? How are you?
Where'd the camera go? They left you out here by yourself?
I usually come up here by myself. I've been up here the last few times by myself. Except in one time. One time did somebody come with me. I actually like coming alone.
Emily's brave.
It's a lot funner.
She knows. All right. So back to the question though. Why is it okay to support one crime, but not okay to support another crime?
Because he was in a situation to protect the city.
He put
from
himself.
those other
He put
crimes.
himself in that situation. He put himself.
I didn't put myself in this situation. You know, I tried to put myself in this situation the other day, like what, a year ago.
But you
before all
weren't.
this
You weren't.
happened.
You weren't engaged in any criminal activity though.
No.
Right.
No.
He was. And that. But the point I'm trying to make is that you're saying it's okay for him to be underage carrying a gun, illegally carry this gun, possess this gun, purchase the gun, right? Because he purchased it illegally from Dominic Black. So that's a massive list of shit. Dominic Black's gonna get fucking thumped on the head. You already know that. That kid's going to prison, right? It's okay to support those crimes. But people fucking the city up, why don't you support that? They got voices that have not been heard for fucking decades. Decades.
But there's other means to have your voices heard.
But they're not being heard.
Wait, can I ask something? Can I ask something real
There's other
fast?
means to protect buildings.
Hey, I got a question.
Good morning.
How much property damage was done the night that Kyle Rittenhouse shot those folks?
Well, the night
How
before,
much
within
no.
24 hours.
How much property was done the night that Kyle Rittenhouse shot them? Prior to the shooting, prior to the National Guard pushing people down the street, how much property damage was done?
A lot.
No.
A lot.
The night of the shooting, how much property damage was reported?
Because the National Guard and everybody was out here to.
The National Guard was out here the night before as well.
But they went to Uptown and destroyed stuff, and there weren't even cops.
But guess what?
There were. I got pictures of cops inside of
when I
family.
got there,
I got
there were.
pictures of cops inside of Family Dollar, standing there, watching all that shit happen.
You know that
100%.
that car lot
Facts.
right there that burned down? Nobody went in there over there and set the whole thing on fire, right? It started from one small fire. Now this is a metaphor, okay? It started from one small fire. The fire was going for like an hour, okay? No fire department, no police. They're supposed to protect and serve. They're supposed to protect the businesses. No police, nobody went over there and put that fire out. And then it set the whole rest of the car lot on fire.
Do you know the second garbage truck that went up was actually started by a member of the Wisconsin National Guard? Day one, that second garbage truck, he's a Wisconsin National Guard member, started by him. Day two, he was out here burning the fucking city. Day three, he got called behind that fucking fence. And you know what he was doing behind the fence? He was fucking reporting police and National Guard fucking movement and strategy to protesters.
This wasn't about protecting property. This wasn't
That's
about
facts.
protecting community.
For all you media people,
This was about
that's
white
facts.
supremacy. Black people were upset, and there were people in that community along with these black people that was upset. And they came out here to intimidate and harass. Nobody asked them to come out here. Them business owners, the people that own them businesses, they never asked for nobody's help. They never asked for that. And they came out here and did that on their own regard. Kyle Rittenhouse is underage. This is the state of Wisconsin, baby. You can't carry no gun in public if you under the age of 18. That's illegal. So the first of all, the Wisconsin state statute, let me tell you what it say. Let me tell y'all what it say.
Come on.
It says if you are acting in a crime, your right to self-defense is canceled.
That's what we talked about earlier.
Say that
So
again.
the moment he crossed state lines,
He was breaking the law.
he was breaking the law. He was a criminal. If he would have got pulled over with that gun, they could have took him to jail before he got here.
Right.
You know how many people got pulled over on their way into Kenosha and taken to
Out
jail?
of,
Right.
with supplies and
You
everything
just got
else.
With no weapons.
Look at
A
that.
truck right there with supplies, water,
To help, actually help
first
people.
aid, and they went to jail. Come on now.
Feds
Make
picked
it
up that
make
truck.
sense. This self-defense
They
shit,
say
you
there's
talking
no
about we
privilege.
intimidating? No, you're intimidated on your own regard. Nobody is purposely intimidating you. If you're scared, that's your conscience. Because you should be. Because we're tired of this shit. This white supremacy shit, we ain't allowing it no more. We're done. Y'all think y'all can come out here and intimidate us? Look at me. I ain't got no weapon. And I ain't scared neither. We tired of being scared of y'all. Ain't nobody scared of y'all
Why
shit.
y'all? Why you
But
saying
y'all,
y'all though?
But
You
look at your
represent,
signs.
you,
Look
look
at
what
your
you hold
signs.
it. America is
Look what your
burning and it's going to
signs say.
continue to burn
Just because I get
as long as
harassed by them,
business
I get
allowed to
yelled
go
at all
on.
the time.
Who the
If
fuck
Kyle
is
Rittenhouse
that?
is not found guilty,
The people that
there will be
came
more
and yelled, the
of
people
what
that
y'all are
judged me,
scared
I
of.
started out
Take
talking
care of
to
the
you.
problem so
I
people
started
won't have
out
to get out
talking
here
to
and
you.
burn shit.
Before I
So
started
people
yelling-
won't have to get out here and
Before I
yell
started
and wave
yelling,
signs.
I was talking real calm, and you didn't even take anything I said before I started yelling. And that's your problem. You don't listen.
I was
You
listening.
don't
You were
listen.
talking about the one car
You
started
don't
the whole
listen.
car fire
You don't
because nobody
listen.
put it out. Then you continued to talk about how somebody got arrested with their stuff over here, how this guy got pulled over. I listened to you. I was comprehending everything you said. I was giving you respect. Okay? I wasn't trying to
So
argue
why are
with
you here with this though?
Because
this is an argument to me.
how?
This is an argument to
Because
me.
everybody is sitting here and
Who?
intimidated.
First
Why
of
come
all,
over and talk to me
my
like this?
question-
I was
my
having a
question-
peaceful conversation
You
with
having
him.
a peaceful
You
conversation
could talk
with me.
to
What
me.
about this is not peaceful? Are you in fear for your life right now?
Can I ask you something? Why does it say?
Why do you say? Why do you have a sign? And who is Antifa? I want to know.
Blake on it?
You know some Antifa? I don't know none.
Yeah, why do that say that?
It says arrest Evers, arrest Blake, and arrest Gage.
Why?
Because if they're gonna arrest
Oh
everybody,
Lord,
they
have
should
mercy.
arrest
Hell nah.
everybody.
You
Yeah,
got
but
that messed up.
Why would they arrest Blake?
And that's
If what's good for the goose, you good for the
They
gander.
decided not to arrest. They decided not to arrest.
If who had
The
a-
law dropped the charges against.
Hold on. Who had a weapon? Sweetheart? Who had a weapon? I'm sorry.
Let me stand back. Because she's doing too much. Look at
was
this.
intelligent.
Why?
He's carrying that.
Why though?
He's gonna get aggressive with
Why?
law enforcement. So if you're going to go
Aggressive.
if somebody is trying to
You said
leave,
aggressive.
that's
You
listen.
said aggressive is not illegal.
So he should go to jail
Attempting
for
to
trying
leave
to
is
leave?
not an act of aggression.
He
Attempting to
had
leave
his
is
back
not an act of
turned.
aggression.
Am I a threat to you like
He
this?
went around the
And Kyle and all the people who came down here were told not to come. They were told it was a curfew, and they should have came down. They should have followed the fucking law.
Okay.
So you can't
then
enforce.
everybody-
No.
then everybody
No.
should
See,
have
this is
been
the
arrested.
problem. You have one group of people who no law is being enforced on. They're actually being congratulated for breaking the fucking law. But then you got other people who are being bombed on, smoked out, and all this other shit for doing the same exact thing.
I released an article about a Waukesha division supervisor, Waukesha sheriff, that was bragging about the fucking shooting. That knew that militia was slashing protester tires, preventing them from
day
getting
one.
home.
From day one.
A Waukesha sheriff division supervisor knew about it. I released an article about that. You know what's happened to him? Not a goddamn thing.
And this is-
You know
this
what's
is what
happened
y'all
to
out
any
here
of those
supporting.
militia?
That's what you're
Not a
supporting.
damn thing. You know, KPD is not investigating that. They're not investigating any of those crimes that militia was doing. I filmed a lot of crimes that militia was doing. I was here on these streets. I was 100 feet away from this fucking kid.
But you're not talking about how you could have filmed crimes that Antifa and BLM.
I filmed people burning shit.
There is no BLM. There is no BLM. You have leaders of Kenosha, right? That's not BLM. Stop calling every black person that's out here BLM.
You're not BLM.
Stop doing that. That's racist within yourself. You have to be part of the organization. I'm just saying.
County BLM. What do you mean?
Do you see him the fuck out here?
He was out here last night.
Listen, y'all need to quit doing that shit. It is fucking wrong to call every black person, so every black person is a Muslim, or okay, then quit doing that shit. Because I've been a part of this movement for 10 years. I've never been associated with BLM.
I just want you to stop.
Okay? So quit calling us that shit.
I'm not calling you that.
You have a sign here in Kenosha where there's no BLM running things here. Leaders of Kenosha, the Blakes, refer to them by the name that they actually go by, okay? Yes, we believe Black Lives Matter, but we're not all part of that organization. Quit doing that shit.
I'm not doing that.
You have a fucking sign that says it. What does that have to do with Kenosha?
Because they came out and they did this the last time I was out here. I've been screaming.
Ma'am, I just have one question. I just have one question.
No reason.
I just have one question. What does a 17-year-old need with an AR-17? Can you explain that? Can you explain to me? I just want you to answer that one question. What does an underage minor need with an AR-17? Period. 15. What does the AR-15 need to be in the hands of a 17-year-old for? Can you explain that part to me?
Self-defense.
Self-defense from who? He's a minor.
He's a minor who lives in Illinois.
He's a self-defense. He's not from here.
Sign up for the National Guard.
Ma'am, he's not from here. So what is he coming up here to be self-defended from? He's not from here.
He was up here cleaning the community up.
No, he does not live here.
Don't clean up with an AR-15.
He does not
Where
live
do
here.
you live in Kenosha? Do you live in Kenosha?
Ma'am, he does not live here.
Are you a resident
There's
of
nothing
Kenosha?
here for him to clean up. Where does he? I don't have nothing here to clean up.
But there was graffiti and there was stuff.
Okay, so you clean up a graffiti with an AR-15? Is that what you're telling me?
He didn't have the AR-15 at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, he had it, period. His mother came here and dumped him off here. Were you not following the story? You couldn't have been. His mother dumped him off here.
We got Bishop came down from Chicago from Push to be with the families today, and I just wanted him to have a minute to say something. Why are you here? What's going on? And thank you for coming here, brother.
Well, the debate that you all have just had is a debate that is being had all over America. Right now, here in Kenosha, Charlottesville, and in Brunswick, Georgia, all at the same time, issues of race and violence. It must be perfectly clear, out of his own mouth, Kyle Rittenhouse admitted once he was taken into custody that he killed 2 white kids. That's exactly what happened. This is domestic terrorism at its best. There's no reason that those 2 people should not be alive except for they were murdered. This is a murder trial. This is a murder trial. And the race dynamic of it should wake us up to the fact that there must be a time of civility and a time of right, the right to protest, the freedom in this democracy, freedom of speech,
attack in Madison.
freedom of speech.
They're actually making protest laws.
And the idea that this young man has been coddled and comforted with both money and motivation is outrageous today in America. We still do not have, with all of the discussion and all of the protests, we still do not have a conscience in our country to pass the George Floyd Justice Act.
The young man who's inside is no less than a murderer. He took and victimized
And then just
2
close
young
the lid.
men that were peacefully coming from a protest from my nephew, Jacob Blake. We refuse to back down. I'm not going to have side discussions with somebody carrying a sign talking about arrest Blake.
Say it loud.
Because if they wanted to, they could have done that. They refused to charge him because they were wrong as hell. And Jacob should have got justice, but he didn't. And it's their days. We're here for Anthony and JoJo, so their families can get justice. We've been all around this country making sure other families get justice. It's not easy in our position because we didn't get justice. But if we can help them get justice, we can help their families get some rest tonight. We're going to be here every day. Get used to seeing us. Till justice happens for African Americans in this city, in this state, in this country, we're going to be standing up. We're going to be just as loud and just as vigilant. This young man is an outright murderer.
Yeah.
There's no question about that at this point. This gentleman said he was a killer. A killer means I have a weapon and you have a weapon and you got the better of us. He's a murderer. They had no weapons in their hand. They weren't loiters or looters. They were just coming from a peaceful rally for Jacob Blake and didn't make it home. So we're going to use every effort, every talent, every energy that we have within us to be out here and to stand in unity with these two families to make sure that the bar doesn't move or they move the goalposts. We want justice, damn it, we want it now. If he gets found guilty on all the charges, he will go to jail for life. That's where the hell he needs to be.
You know, they have a saying on the other side that says, don't tread on me. But we get tread on every day in this country. And black and brown people across this nation are continuing to rise up to say this is going to stop happening. These militia groups, these Boogaloo Boys, Proud Boys, any name they want to reemerge under, they need to know that they will be confronted, that they will be stopped, that what they are doing is going to stop. And as soon as we saw the post that went out yesterday, we were coming. And we were coming anyway because the city of Kenosha, the people of Kenosha, they need to get some justice. I don't know what's going on with y'all sheriff. I don't know what's going on with this judge. But these people need to be removed. They need to me, what they're doing is criminal. To me, what they're doing was the premise for what Kyle was able to do. People were out here protesting the biased nature, the racist nature in which black and brown people get policed in this country. Only to have, even after that, the law be enforced additionally biasedly. For people to be able to come down here who are not residents of this city, armed, able to come freely, leave freely, when people who are not only residents of this city, but people in surrounding cities were stopped, were detoured, and all of that, coming and going. That shows a bias. It shows a bias that certain people were being bombed on and told to leave and ticketed and arrested for being outside past the curfew, but they were able to come and go freely armed. They were able to fire shots. Kyle was able to fire and kill 2 people and injure another person and walk right past the police. They were being thanked for being out here past the curfew. This is complicity. You have one of those militia members who are saying that the police department were cooperating with them and telling them that they were going to push people their way so they could take care of the problem. Why is this not being investigated? Why? Why is this judge allowed to continue on this case? This judge has a history of doing exactly what's happening. I'm upset with the prosecution for not asking for a change of judge. This should have never been allowed to go forward the way it's going forward. And Kenosha, Milwaukee, and the rest of these cities around this country will continue to burn. The very things that they're worried about, they're causing to happen. Because if this case does not find the right solution, what do you think is going to happen? How are people supposed to believe in this process and we see how the process is going? This is enough. We've been saying it for too many years, enough is enough, and we'll continue to say it, but you see, it's going to look a little different. It's going to look a little different. People are arming themselves, people are educating themselves, people are preparing for what we see the world is going to continue to be like. And until y'all change it, things are going to remain the same.